Welcome back. Preliminary final weekend has given us some of the most memorable moments and finishes in football history. We could have easily filled a whole show with them all, but we've narrowed it down to the 5 best because, like the old guy who used to sell the peanuts out of their Hessian bag, so are the rounds of our lives. Okay, Finey, I've been saying it every week, but I reckon this is our best crop yet. Preliminary finals. These are all from the 1990s. What a decade for preliminary finals.
I was just going to say that we had a period there where we had become, I think there might have been 5 years in a row, 5 out of 6 years, where you just expected the preliminary final to be the best game of the year. Well,
you're right. In fact, this crop, it's... 5 out of 7 years. So
it's an amazing run of incredible finishes.
Yeah, well, the 90s was a great decade for many reasons, but the quality of the preliminary finals was certainly one of them.
And kudos to you, old man.
For what?
Well, a couple of these are heartbreaks for the Essendon Football Club, and I'm assuming they're there because they're 2 very famous games.
I'm a newsman, Finey. You've got to put your partisanship aside and appreciate the value of how great these games were. So let's go to number 5 on the list. It's 1997. Apologies, Bulldogs fans, but we had to do it. The Bulldogs look like they're set to play St Kilda in the grand final. They're 22 points up early in the last quarter. Looks like they're going to break the drought and get through to that grand final. Let's see what happens.
The Saints next week. What a grand final that would be. 2 teams not really used to the last Saturday in September, KB.
Still a long way to go in this game, Drew. Quick snap.
Libba.
Tony Liberatore celebrates a point.
Good win. A long way from home. The left footer booms one in towards the big guns, and Jarman rises above the pack. So this for his 200th career goal and his 2nd for the day, but more importantly to keep the Crows in touch, to give them some faint hope.
By one, taken by Bickley. Wonderful handball to Connell on the edge of the centre square. Jarman again is the target. Couldn't take it. He looked like he might have been held. No free kick. Chance for Smart. A fumble. He's got it. Smart kicks a goal. Here come the Crows.
They're going to have to stem this flow.
Simon Goodwin, in just his 9th senior game with the Crows, can cover himself in glory, and he has.
Over the centre. Johnson is there. Hudson. The hand pass to Mark West. A goal might seal it. The shot by West. Offline. And the Crows are still in this.
Goes short. Finds Johnson. He's got it, Jarman. Mr. Magic's got it. They trail by 2 points. Look at the convention centre in Adelaide. The spotlight is on him. 35 metres out. The Crows are in front.
They want West to produce some magic. He does with a long kick. They need a mark up at full forward. Grant's a chance at the back. Chris Grant wobbles it in towards goal.
Edwards gets back there. The hand pass away. Jamison. Siren! Crows are in the grand final!
Oh, look at them, they've gone mad at Football Park.
I've got to say, in my usual I was there manner, I've never felt so deflated writing a story as I did that night. And apologies to Adelaide people, because it was a great win and it was a great premiership the week later, but I felt like there are no fairy tales in football after that.
Have we got a moment for an interesting story?
Yep.
I went to the game. St Kilda's in the grand final. Bulldogs lose, which sort of suited St Kilda's. You know, Adelaide were considered a bit of a fluke result. I'm leaving the ground, and as I'm walking down Swan Street, I see comedian Russell Gilbert, who I'd never met in my life. He would go on to become my best mate. As he's walking across the road, I yell out, "Who's laughing now, funny guy?" And he goes to run back across the road and have a crack at me. And the guy he's with sort of holds him back and says, "It's not worth it, it's not worth it." And I'm giving it, "Yeah, of course you're not." Well, of course, he became a great mate and would later tell me the bloke that held him back is more dangerous than pack of pit bulls, and he's very lucky the two of them didn't come at me. But that was the first time, and I was told that to Gil. I told that, I said, you won't remember this. I started the story about 6 years later, and he finished it. He even remembered the words I used.
And he hadn't remembered it was you?
Well, he didn't know me. I was a stranger, but funny guys laughing now.
So that's how great friendships start, by taunting someone mercilessly.
Well, funny guys laughing now because they're in the granny.
And a St Kilda supporter. Geez, you deserve what you nearly got. All right, let's move on. Number 4 on the list. Now, Finey mentioned a couple of Essendon tragedies here, but I did find time for an Essendon celebration, Finey. But in all fairness, allegiances aside, this is a great preliminary final. One of the great comebacks in finals history. Essendon Adelaide. And this year they were a bit of an upstart too. They beat Hawthorn in the elimination final. Essendon lost the qualifying, beat West Coast in the first semi. They're up against Adelaide, and the Bombers go in favourites. Well, Adelaide come flying out of the blocks, 42 points up at half-time. It looks done and dusted, but an amazing comeback. Now, I'll just warn you here, when we see Mark McCurry's goal halfway through the third quarter, Finey, I've been to the MCG a lot. I've never, ever, ever in my life heard a louder roar than we'll hear after that goal. Let's have a look.
Punched away by Long from Jarman, rebounds for Watson. Handball brilliantly, Denham, unselfish, Buick will get it now. Richmond was important. Mercury, close to the boundary line. Mercury does well. Handball, Salmon, get the goal.
It doesn't hurt to throw the arms out occasionally, let the umpire see what's happening.
Well, especially when you're only 20 metres from goal.
Buick going for his third. Drop punt, he's got it.
Coming out and taking a nearly a great mark, but the recovery was enormous. Fletcher and Wanganeen combined. Oliver Renshaw's got the footy, running through the centre of the ground.
Streaming away with a fourth bounce. Wanganeen's turning lip tack inside out in this turn. Taken by Cowthorpe. McCurry will go. Goes for it. Sits back. Gets it through.
So Buick has a second chance from just over 20 metres, pretty well straight in front. So you would nearly write this down for a goal. He's got it, scores a level.
Puts the handle away. Maynard gives it to long stages. Watson important. O'Donnell should go. Goes and puts it through. The Bombers are in front.
Ola Renshaw favoured by the bounce. He's got it. Dispossessed by Tregenza. Very important possession here. Taken by Brown. Wanganeen's got it. Did he have the football? One wonders. Away goes Ola Renshaw. To Wanganeen. In short, Watson. Shorter again, Mercury. No, Watson gets around. Forced to kick with the left. It slews off the side of his boot. Centre half back for Adelaide. Very important possession. Watson's got it. Watson goes for goal. Look at this. They bring the house down. Essendon are home in the preliminary final thanks to a goal kicked by Timmy Watson. Graham Corn shakes his head in disbelief.
And it's been one of the most remarkable games in the long history of this great game. To be 7 goals behind at half-time. That's it.
I could watch that again and again, but we won't. And Finey, karma in football is a big thing. What the football gods giveth, the football gods taketh away. And they would do that to Essendon supporters 6 years later. It's a very famous final. The Blues, massive outsiders. Essendon expected to romp into the grand final. Carlton pulls one out of you-know-where. Massive last quarter. You guys have a look at it. I'm just going to avert my eyes.
Looking for one last desperate thrust. Oh, takes the hand pass. Carlton into half forward. This looks better. Critter again. This kick to put Carlton back in front. It's a 55-metre plus kick. He's done exactly that. The Blues are back in the lead.
For goal. Might have no choice. It starts right. It swings back. What a goal!
Mercedes looks in towards half forward. They need a grab and they've got it this time. Johnson will have a shot 47 metres out.
That'll be just a dream unless this goes through.
It's gone through. They're still there, the Bombers. Johnson. Is it going to be the young guns? He almost threw it out to Mercedes. It looked like a throw. It doesn't matter now. Play on. They need a mark. Alessio in front. Who's at the back? Mercury! Mercury! One behind. Where they need a big mark. A huge pack of players. Waiting down in front was Rice. His kick is a pull-up. Straight to Wallace. The mean bad man. Can he cover himself in glory? He's lost it, and Murphy takes it away. That could be the turnover that cost them. Murphy goes towards the half-forward line. Ratner's got it. He'll take his time, and that could just about seal it. Murphy drops in the hole on the 50. He'll pick himself up very slowly.
What about the tackle by Fraser Brown back here at half-back?
That's the ball game. If it had gone to Fletcher, he could have bombed it from that distance. The luck of the draw in a final.
This is just an incredible comeback by the Carlton Football Club.
They are into the grand final.
Carlton is into the grand final.
Amazing performance by the Carlton Footy Club, and it's the only time really that a side's gone on to lose a grand final and was still relatively satisfied by having denied their arch enemy.
Yeah, I mean, look, Essendon were red-hot favourites, as you said, and Dean Wallace has to live with it. Just, you know, at a point down, just kick it long. And
he had Fletcher on his left, Finey. Fletcher would have made the distance with plenty to spare.
Even if he kicked it to the top of the square, most likely could have gone through for a point. And anyhow, that would be resolved the next year when, of course, with only one loss, Essendon had the almost perfect season.
Well, I was talking to Wayne Carey yesterday, and all a moot point as far as he's concerned. He has no doubt North would have cleaned Essendon up in the grand final as well as they did clean Carlton up.
I had great doubts. It would have been a very interesting grand final.
It would have. Let's go on to number 2 on the list, and more heartbreak for Bomber people. Yes, Finey, I was at this one too in the Noble Stand press box, and it's seared in my memory. Sydney and Essendon, the Swans, haven't been in the grand final for 41 years. Bit of a fairy tale. And the Bombers, well, they're going okay. They look like they're going to get through to another grand final with North Melbourne. What is it about being thwarted by playing North Melbourne in a grand final? Let's go to the last 4 minutes of action.
Taking him as deep into the forward line as possible.
Harvey, the 200 gamer, gives it off to Simons, who'll try and bang one back. Michael Simons, I think, might have just about done it.
Towards the middle is Maxfield. He can go all the way down the ground. The Swans must kick a goal out of this. Maxfield 2 bounces, have another one and kick for goal. He doesn't. It's going to fall short. James Hurd can't get there, and Lewis is back in the square. Dale Lewis for his 3rd goal. And he kicks it.
Still in the middle, that all-important break. It's taken by Kelly. He kicks it towards left half forward. Garlick's the man. Over the top he goes. Chapman off to Maxfield. The left foot has got to get it in towards Lockett. Lockett knocks in the pocket. He plays on. A centering kick. He wants Creswell. And he's got it. Great finish. Creswell. 48 metres from home. It's a high kick. He's there. He's gone. Scored another 3.
The Swans get a point here. They win the game. Simons back to Blumfield. A mark taken by Chapman. He can kick it forward. There's 22 seconds left. The kick towards
Look out.
It's going to be marked. Lockett's got it. 50 metres from goal. If he kicks a point, the Swans are into the grand final. The time is ticking down. Lockett can go all the way, and all he has to do is kick a score.
Lockett, the most important kick of his career. Any score will do. He kicks. They're into the grand final. Sydney are in.
Okay, a couple of quick points. The kick from Darren Creswell swung about 2 feet left to right. Looked like it was going to be a certain point. Secondly, look, no one likes parking themselves in the road of Plugger, but I reckon Justin Blumfield could have just gone a little bit harder at the end there.
Well, as you said, nobody likes doing it, and he didn't do it. Darren Creswell was brilliant around that time, wasn't he?
Oh,
He
yeah.
won them a few games. I remember a game against Hawthorn where he took a a mark in the goal square in the dying.
Well, that was 2 weeks previously in the elimination final.
I mean, he was just a very, very good footballer. Underrated, Darren Creswell, actually.
All right, let's get to number 1 on the list. Now, I need to say here, this is my best game in the history of football. Not only is it a great final, I reckon if I could only watch one game over and over again for the rest of my life, this would be it. End to end, reasonably high scoring for most of it. It was tough, couple of comebacks from either side. This game had absolutely everything, including one of the most memorable finishes in football history. It's 1994, it's the preliminary final between North Melbourne and Geelong.
Hinkley, deep in his own defensive area, a cool head, a very cool head. Hocking had to wait though. Opportunity for Stevens. Stevens 25 metres out, he's missed. He has missed.
And takes the mark. Wayne Carey, long bar. Hinkley punches. Allison! Allison! Oh, he's missed it.
Awkward bounce. McGrath heads for the boundary line. Now it's a foot race. Carey's in front. McGrath in close attendance. Carey hurriedly onto the boot. Allison, awkward bounce. He's 25 metres from goal. This time, perhaps, he settles, he gets it. Here come the Kangaroos.
Back in the middle with just 5 points the difference and under 6 minutes left. Chest mark to Rock. A straight kick and they're in front. Rock's kick is marked in the goal square by Lombard. 5 goals in the third quarter. North Melbourne have hit the front. To the centre of the ground, Gary Hocking. Magnificent mark. Wide to Wills. Now the Cats a chance. They trail by a point. Andrew Wills with pace. Nobody in front of him has missed it, but the scores are level. Will a point be enough? Won't make it. Oh! John Barnes! His second mark of the day, Barnes.
Why play on?
Here's Couch. That's the way they play, Geelong. Here they go.
Riccardi around the outer side. Listen to the roar. 103 apiece. A minute and 10 to go. Smith in the row. End-to-end football. Shoulders on in the middle. That's ignored. Mann's got it now from half back towards the wing. Will we go to extra time? Thumped away by Couch. Rock's in front. Inside the last minute. Here's Schwass on the outer side. Goes down towards half forward, ill-directed. Full-chested Hinkley. What a game he's played. Back towards half forward and Couch. We're down to 45 seconds. Inside the 50. Will's got a hand to it. Laidley, possibly the best on the ground. Heads for the boundary line. Brownless fell over and the ball's out of bounds.
Hocking had a big lead. Mick Martin gets it. But onto the chest of Colbert. There's 18 seconds left.
Colbert, what will he do? Started on the bench. We're down to 10 seconds. Colbert. And the mark is missed down there by Barnes. Right on the boundary line. Shooter. He will kick after the siren. Oh my goodness me. Gary Ablett, 5 metres out. Any score will do. Geelong are in the grand final.
So just 3 minutes of that game leaves you breathless, doesn't it? It was like that for the entire 4 quarters.
Great game and brilliantly called by the soon-to-be retired one more game Dennis Cometti.
So many ifs and buts in that game too. Wayne Schwass, if he just found Darren Crocker. Barnesy drops the mark at the end after taking the game saver. And of course the late Paul Couch figuring prominently. And incidentally, fantastic tribute to Couchy on the Brownlow coverage last night. What a sad loss he was. He was a lovely, very likeable guy and a brilliant footballer.
Yeah, you picked some good games. Well done. And that last game, as you said, 3 minutes of it leaves you panting. So imagine 100 minutes of footy like that.
It is all on YouTube, so have a look if you want to see more of it. I thoroughly recommend it.
You know, with all the programs they've had in place and the youth girls coming through, like I went and watched the Youth Girls Carnival a couple of months ago and I was blown away. Like they were, you know, the skill level and the way they moved the ball was phenomenal. So the skill is definitely there.